Hello, welcome to the new webinar of Talent Data Labs. My name is Maria and I'm an intern in this company. And today I'm actually doing an interview with the founder, with CEO of the company, with Stefan van Tulter. And today the topic of this webinar is data protection. And we have decided to speak about it because there is a really high attention towards this topic because of the GDPR and many new concepts such as data ethics. And we really think that we need to cover all of these issues. And I will try to do this webinar in a kind of like interview format, and we'll answer questions that might be really interesting to our clients and to all the stakeholders of Talent Data Labs. So let's start, okay?
Let's start.
Cool. So the first question is actually, why is data protection that important to Talent Data Labs?
Yeah, and that's one of the main questions we also always get from our users. One of the groups that may not always be highlighted, but obviously we're a business, so we have clients that interact with our data many times. But for us, the main target of all our data protection and all the facilities we have to prevent data from being abused are always focused at the users. So whether you're a client or whether you're a candidate, doesn't really matter to us. As soon as you interact with information or with data, we consider you a user as well. So one of the major goals we have in life is to examine at how the world is today, right? So what are the other providers or what are other people on the market doing with data? Now, most famously, Facebook is doing a lot of things that, well, most recently they've been transcribing recorded conversations of users. So Facebook's doing a lot of things with data that not a lot of people are aware of. So one of the main reasons we're finding this a very important subject is because exactly that part users are not aware of. I think data isn't difficult, and we as a company do not think data is a big problem to have, as long as we can all agree on the value of the data. So if you're a user and you're giving us data, I want you to understand why you're giving me that data, what that data does to you, and how we use that data. Now, to be even more specific, today in the market, especially in recruitment and HR, which I hope we'll be talking a little bit about later, sure. Data is something where the user, the candidates, the applicants, the employees are usually providing a lot of and getting extremely little in return for. So I, as a candidate in my previous careers, have always loathed the fact. I was just immediately angry when I had a process, a long, lengthy process, including assessments and things, where I had to dump a lot of my information, a lot of my data, without ever understanding where it went, how it's used, and what it meant for me. So for us, that's something that we need to change. We need to change that today, and we need to change that fast. We need to give people an understanding, also on assessments, also on quantification. So telling a candidate, you're in or you're out. Why? What does your data tell about you that we need as information? I think that's fair, and I think that's the level of interaction with data we need to be able to provide.
Yeah, sure. So, like, to summarize, how do we store the data and how the data, like, from the test takers goes to the recruiter, the client of Talent Data Labs?
Yeah. Well, storage is, of course, one of the most important issues today, because storage says a lot about how you're able to use, but also how you're able to lose data. So we as an organization, we don't care about people as individuals. That's being said from a data perspective, of course. We care a lot about you as an individual and your perspectives and what you want and what you don't want. But you as a person, you as an email address, you as a phone number, you as a name, is not information we care about. We don't want to contact you with ads. We don't want to contact you with weird job opportunities or anything. All we care about is that you become part of our statistical engine so we can give you as an individual more value. So first step we do is we anonymize. So if you enter our database, you become an unreadable piece of text. It's a hexadecimal code in more technical terms, but you do not exist as a name. So you, Maria, are not Maria in our database. Your email address is not your email address. We don't have your phone number available, and neither do any of our employees. The only one who can work with that is you. And you as a user are the only one who can give permission for anyone else to view that kind of information. So if we have a client that's super interested in you as a person, they would have to ask you directly through our platform to release that information. We will never be able to. You have the key. We do not. And also, we do not need it, because our biggest product is, for the ones that are less familiar with our product, is reports based on, we call it the concept of Maria, for example. So we don't necessarily need to know who Maria is as an individual. We just need to know what type of conceptual person Maria is. What's her archetype? What's her stereotype? And how many Marias are working in your company? And Maria is not necessarily a name, but it's more like a behavior, an ability, a talent, a skill, a personality, those kind of things.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the answer. I guess that now we have discussed a lot about how Talent Data Labs treats the data of test takers and of the clients. And now I think we can discuss GDPR a bit more, because I think that you are more of an expert in this field as well. And the first question is, what does GDPR mean for the human resource management nowadays?
And that's exactly the point what we talked a little bit about just now in the beginning. For human resources, GDPR should mean you as a talent get awareness. You understand. So one of the major concerns with GDPR is justification, right? The ability to tell someone, I need this data for this specific reason. And I'd like to take it even further, right? Saying, so if you have that specific decision in mind, or if you need that specific piece of data, then return it in perspective. Be nice. Say, okay, give me some of yours and we'll give you some of ours. So be nice in the extent of, okay, I need to know which school you went to. And then I, as a company, should later be able to tell you, okay, we either value this or we do not value this. And I think that's one of the major implications for HR. You need to be more transparent. You need to be able to hire in a fashion that's more two-way. And today, with all the software and all the platforms that are available, it should be a no problem whatsoever. Our systems do this automated guaranteed, right? So they return the data automatically. That should be the default. For HR, the minimum requirement should be people know what is happening to their information and how they pass through a process and why they do or do not pass. So that's one. Two, also critical, portability, right to be erased. Data points of an individual user are their data points. They're not yours. So the company doesn't own it. So if at any point in time, you as an employee say, I want to see my data, I want to have my data, you should be able to get it. That's really something that doesn't really happen. So you offload a bunch of information into a platform, whichever platform that is, you apply to an obscure selection process, and it just gets deleted. That's because that's easy legally for HR to just delete it after it. Or maybe it doesn't even get deleted, right? Worst case scenario. That's the easy way around. We need to step up. We need to make this, rather than give us your data, we make sure we remove it so we don't get into trouble. Give us your data and you can have something in return. That's it.
Okay, so these are your recommendations for the companies, how to actually comply with GDPR. Maybe you can summarize it in one or two sentences so that it's really clear.
Exactly. So the key word here is involvement. Involve your user, involve your candidate, involve your participants in your database on what's happening, and allow them to make the decisions on whether to delete it or not. If you don't need the data, don't ask it. It's very simple. So, involvement. Ask them.
Okay, cool. And maybe you can also give some recommendations, not only like in GDPR, but maybe say some words about data ethics, like the new also concept that we not only need to care about like data legally, but also like some ethical issues about this topic. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Great question, by the way, because I mean, legal is one, ethic is second. Right now, as the GDPR is written, it's more written from an ideological standpoint. It's not legally confined to very precise statements. So, it in and of itself is a rule that is more of an ethical rulebook than I'd say a legal rulebook. But let me give you my perspective on that. I think more data should be used in especially recruitment processes. And I think more data should be used in processes such as the Facebook information feed, right? I think we should ask the user more rather than less. Right now, your Facebook information feed notoriously changes based on popularity, right? So if you see a lot of cats, it's not because you simply have only been clicking like on cats. I'm pretty sure you've been clicking like on a lot of other things as well. The reason you see cats is because it's a popularity metric for Facebook. You don't have the choice. If you could get the honest decision, how many cats do you want to see a day? Maximum 3? If you want to get involved into this process, you should be able to. And I think that's what the ethical debate should be around, is involvement, as I said in the previous question as well. To which extent can we use your data, but also should we use your data? If you say, I don't want this, or I want more of that, a company should listen to that. Sorry.
Okay. And do you think like all these assessments and performance measurement, data analytics, how is it ethical? Is it ethical enough, or should we have some? Do we need some more steps to make it more ethical and so that users can be more involved in the process?
Yeah. So do we have thoughts about whether or not, in and of itself, all these systems or all these processes that manage data are ethical? Essentially, the problem with statistics is that it's true for a large part of a population. It doesn't have to be true for everyone. So there's always people left out. There's a lot of risk of bias. So I think one of the main things you might be alluding toward is, aren't we getting biased with all of this data?
Yeah.
And that's a really, really strong point that I work hard on with most of my clients, but we try to work hard on in our organization as well. And that is, let's not get blindsided. A momentary notice of something, for example, how important grades are or how important having certain skills are, is only something that's relevant right then and right now. So if we start scoring too much, if we start straight lining too much into a path, we really risk being too biased, basically. So it's very important that you examine your beliefs so that you generate data on more than you just already assume. So if you think grades are so important, why don't you also look at personality, cultural backgrounds, family histories of people? Why don't you look at everything and figure out how important things are? But also the extent of false positives, false negatives. Examine your data, which is super easy nowadays. We produce tools for that any day, every day. You should be in charge of making sure that you understand everything, not just the things that you hold as most important right now. So not just whether people score high on an intelligence test, not just whether they have good performance indicators, but also do we only help people with our program, or do we only promote people that have certain types? Observe. Try to figure all of this out. The data is there, the software is there, the technology is there, and the mathematical skills are there.
Okay, I think there are great recommendations and quite clear answer. And what I also wanted to discuss is actually, what do we expect in this industry? What do we expect in terms of data protection in HR?
That's a good question. I think you're asking me what I hope to expect.
Just your opinion.
If anything.
Okay. Yeah.
Because, I would love to see a lot more of what I previously managed a little bit as well, where we involve the user, right? We involve the candidate, we involve the employee. I would have to ask my employees from day one is basically, what are the couple of things you want to monitor? If you say, well, one of my personal development goals are this, this, and that. So, can you monitor that for me? Can you help me, guide me through that process? So we can hold you accountable, but also your manager accountable. And we can try to see whether, we're aligning your goals with the situation. So I think a lot of HR software will be much more of a platform-based solution, where you as an employee can do self-assessment and figure out where you're at, but also tell us where you want to be. So I hope the industry will be going into a direction where we ask people more what they want to achieve, so that we can help them achieve it more. And companies will be more expertise building, rather than that they'll be there to figure out how to monetize the individual best. Which is not saying that that's not important. It's very important that you find yourself into an environment with a lot of productive people around you. But that usually sits on a mutual, respectful relationship and the building of mutual expectations.
Yeah, well, thank you, Stefan, for your answer. And I think that I have run out of all of my questions, and I think we have covered many issues concerning data protection, and I think it was really interesting and important to show how we actually treat the data and how our clients should treat the data as well. So thank you, Stefan, again, and thank you for watching this webinar. I hope that you liked it, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.